Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Quality Fish and Chips in Hull. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and tonight I'm joined by Joe and Tom, and you're both still muted, so unmute yourselves, and we're looking forward to talk about the start of the new season. So, Tom, Joe, how are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Pretty good.
Marvelous. I'm quite good.
There's
Normally, I'm only this
cautious optimism now, I think.
cautious 12th place.
Yeah, mid-table fodder.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about it, but last season with the home games and this whole comparison, we're not going to go over it again. Whole comparison away form and home form and the expectation, especially since January with Carvalho and Zaruri. Remember Zaruri? That feels so long ago.
Yeah, out of all the ones you could pick, why do you come out with Zaruri?
The idea was that they were going to get us to the playoffs, right, when we signed them, and the expectation was raised. But now it's almost like the 2017 Premier League season when we had Sean Maloney as our only player on the bench.
Hey, Dusan Kushak, don't forget it.
Oh, yeah, yes, outfield player on the bench. Although with the way we play with our last few managers, the goalkeepers are outfield players now. But yeah, it felt exciting. Sort of new dawn, a new manager, less expectation. Just go out and enjoy it. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Tom, you weren't on the preview episode, so just give us a brief little, perspective on how you see this season going.
Well, I'm like you said there's less expectation. New manager with not strengthened particularly well yet. We're not obviously spent like we did last summer. So it's kind of sort of playing into our own hands really, because if we do have a strong end to the window, and we could go under the radar a bit as outside playoff contenders, but at the moment I can only judge what we've done in pre-season, obviously the business we've done, and the squad we've got currently, and I've predicted 14th place, and I think that would be a decent season. I think anywhere mid-table under Walter, if we're showing signs of progression, in terms of the football and what we want to do go forward, if we actually build a squad where we're bringing in players on a 3 to 4 year contract, like we did Liam Miller, I think we can sort of start to see progress. So I think if we can finish mid-table this season, that'll be good, and that's where I predicted to finish. And to be honest, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah. Joe, what was your general thought going into this match at home, first match at home? How did you feel going into it?
Well, I expected defeat. And when it got to the 80th minute and I saw Stan Ashby, Finn Burns, Brandon Fleming and Andy Smith warming up, I thought, right, Tim Walter's just going to put one of them on to see the point out. And then we went 1-0 down. And all of a sudden, whichever one of them was stood up, I think it was Burns, he sat straight back down, and out came the Tyrell Sellers Fleming effect. And what can I say? Ty smashed it, mate. Crossing for the penalty, which initially me and my dad sat together, we thought that probably doesn't get given anywhere else on the pitch. But having watched it back,
it was a clumsy challenge, wasn't it? Clumsy.
The angle the referee had of it, Joe Williams was lucky with him being on a yellow already to still be on the pitch, really.
It felt very much, and unsurprisingly, first match at home of the season against Bristol City, but felt very much like 2 years ago when we had all these new players, but, less expectation, or more so, we didn't know what to expect. And I thought we started relatively well. Bristol pretty much played us off the pitch for maybe the middle hour of the game. But and I've not really mentioned it so far, but one of my theories about pre-season, one of the good things, which is a backhanded compliment in that we've been pretty bad for maybe the first part of the game, is that we've ended the games pretty strongly. And I think maybe Tim Walter's double sessions have helped in that regard. But it was when the subs came on, Jarvis and Miller especially, they seemed really exciting. Yeah. Jarvis, Joe, you know a lot about.
I want to speak about Jarvis. He came on fearless. And when he took a past 3 players, thinking, come on, that obviously he's really raw in the final third. And if you want to sort of obviously finish in the top half of the season or go for it, I think he's not someone that's going to play regularly, but he's the beauty of having a small squad at the minute, and is being able to play these youth players because they're going to give their all for the team, and that's what Jarvis did when he came on. Tracked back well, won the ball back. I mean, when he got the ball, he wasn't afraid to take people on. I mean, he had that chance as well in the box where obviously end products was a bit rubbish, but apart from that, I think I couldn't really fault him coming on. I think he took his chance, and obviously wouldn't be surprised to see him obviously come off the bench again against Plymouth. So yeah, or maybe even start against Sheffield Wednesday.
Starts on Wednesday for me, definitely. Yeah. I've watched a lot of Javo through the academy and what have you. So, and he said in his interview last night, direct quote, he said about his time at Shelburne, he says defensively he's a lot better, he dribbles a lot more, and he's matured since being there, so he's hoping to keep that up, and he'd be happy, he'd be more like over the moon to play regularly this season, and he's buzzing to be back and what have you. And he was always one of the best players at under 21s level. He always was, and he's been out there, got some experience, and with the way the Irish season works, it put him out of sync with us in terms of loans and stuff like that. And it would have taken an injury crisis or the summer we've had to get him back in the fold. And we had a little mini injury crisis, expecting both Longman and Abdush to be out. In the end, it was only the one of them.
Oh, the wrong one.
Okay, whatever you think. And Javo, he's come in, got that opportunity, and to a similar way to Miller did, really. Whenever he got on the ball, you thought, right, there's a lad here who can make something happen. He, like I say, was direct in his dribbling. There's a little bit of work to do in the final third, like you said, Tom, like the chance he had, which I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen him watch it back, but obviously, it was a bit of a tame effort, but obviously a couple of players in the box that obviously was probably expecting the ball as well, maybe. But
it wasn't a shot or a cross, was it, really? Maybe just got stuck between the two.
Yeah, probably.
And then there was an opportunity where I thought, you know what, we'll just take it alone and bury it in that bottom corner, please. But he squared it to Malem, who just sent it looping and spinning over the bar.
Yeah, I mean, it was that when we had like a 4-on-2 on it, where like obviously Simmons drove forward, then played out to Jarvis, and then obviously played to the edge, and yeah.
But Will start. Will start on Wednesday against Wednesday. I have no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. Wednesday.
Would like to see Cine involved as well, because I think had we not signed Miller, well, earlier in the week, before we signed Miller and before I knew Abdush was fit, my starting two wingers would have been Will Jarvis on the right and Cine Hall on the left. So I think Miller will probably start and he'll get 60 minutes straight, but then I'd like to see Cine get a run out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously speaking about Miller as well, like obviously when he came on straight away, massive impacts. Like again, similar to Jarvis, like maybe a bit rash in the final third, but he did put in a few good crosses, and he just looks like a top player. To be fair, like just the way he cuts in, he has a bit of that aura. Like when he gets the ball, you think, like he says, something's going to happen. So yeah, a bright start from him as well, and yeah, I expect him to start against Plymouth.
It's clear what he wants to do, isn't it? He wants to cut inside, and
he's probably that sort of player where like I think defenders know what he's going to do, but stopping it's a different matter. Like with how like sort of like languid he is, like how silky he is with the ball, like it's quite hard to stop.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah,
I mean, he's settled more here and he's adapted to Walter's way of playing a little bit more. I think he'll be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was literally on his signing on Friday. So,
for £1.5 million, I don't think we get a better Jaden Philogene replacement, really.
No, I think that's a very sensible transfer. That I mean, he's been in the Championship before, so he knows exactly what he's going to, how to play in this division. He's done well for Preston last season, a winner against Leeds, which we'll appreciate. So yeah, I was very excited about that signing and to get that one over the line. Finally, an attacking player. We've agreed a deal. We've known that we've been trying to sign him for a while, and they didn't sign for anyone else, which was very nice.
Well, Bas says there's a striker coming in this week, perhaps.
Yeah, no names on that one at all. I mean, Oscar, we've recalled him. Good thing we did, otherwise we wouldn't have any strikers.
Now,
Two
Ty,
more. We need 2 more.
Yeah, but we certainly
Let's
do.
go in 4th choice.
But no matter how exciting some of these young players are, you don't want to rely on them, do you? I
Yeah.
think that would be unfair on them as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we've seen with Panda in pre-season, Jacob, yesterday, these young players aren't, the plan. Or shall we talk about the left side of the defence? Because that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll mention some more positives. I think Simons
He was
stepped
class.
up in
Yeah.
Seri's absence.
Really good in the system. Really good because I think he's just good at reading the game, and like in that, obviously that double pivot in midfield, like his passing range is good, and he's good at carrying the ball forward. So I think he suits it down to the ground. Obviously under Rossini, like he preferred Seri, so he was never going to get ahead. And we've seen before that he can't really play them both together. So, but now it looks like he's taking his chance, and he was probably one of our most impressive players in pre-season. So yeah, I'm happy to see Simmons in there. Like he's impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
Talking of passing range, a quick word to Louis Coyle. People suggesting maybe he didn't fit the system or whatever, but he did his usual solid 6-7 out of 10 game yesterday. And passing range specifically, some of the diagonals he was doing to Liam Miller. I know Xavi did one, but some of the stuff Louis Coyle was doing was remarkable.
As Coyle, for the 10th year running, it feels, has come in with criticism and with drama. Oh, is he going to be the number one? And of course, drama was injured, but he always proves a doubt.
Interesting to see who starts when obviously both are fully fit. Like, I mean, it probably still Coyle, but obviously drama probably offers a bit more going forward, and that's why I brought him. But it's obviously good that we've got 2 solid right backs to depend upon, unlike on the left side, that we'll probably speak about now.
Yeah. One more positive. I suppose it was two more. One, Panda in pre-season has been poor, to be sort of nice. And that's why we've signed Rakiopi, or was it Ratiopi? I don't know how to say his name. Rachopi, young boys. But on the ball, he still has a little bit to work on, but he was fine yesterday.
I don't think. I think it's more like in front of him than it's actually him himself. Like,
yes, he had some. Well, he was put in some hospital pass positions, wasn't it? McLaughlin, I remember one being specifically.
I think I've always liked McLaughlin, but I think I know obviously we're going in for Hughes and stuff, so hopefully that's the replacement. But we have to replace it. I don't think he can be a starter this season. And obviously same with Jacob as well. We have to. Obviously, don't fancy Giles as a left back, and I don't as well, to be fair, because defensively he's awful. I think I can't trust him as a out and out left back, but I think we need to sign one because we can't rely on Matty Jacob because
Flem dog.
It will not be Flem dog, as you call him. I don't think. I mean, that left side. I don't like being critical of players, at least on the podcast, and I think it's important to not be cruel. That left side was terrible. Terrible. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people, and doesn't mean that I hate them, but they played badly in the football match that I watched yesterday. I feel like that's okay to say.
Matty and Sean are top blokes, and footballers don't get nicer than Ryan Giles. Let's just make that very clear.
Yeah. I think, defending, well, McLaughlin's never been blessed with pace, and I think a backhanded compliment you can use with him is he's better in the back three, and he has done well in the past for us. And his passing range has been okay, but that's more those diagonals.
We'll always have that one to Keno's Potter against Forest.
I was just thinking of that, exactly. But him and Jacob do not have the technical ability to play out from the back, as we've seen under Rossini and now Volta. Defending, they were okay and made some blocks, and that's fine. But the amount of times they gave the ball away, we were extremely lucky, almost in the first minute actually, not to concede from passing the ball straight to Bristol. But the fact it was the 80th minute, 84th minute or something when we conceded from a Jacob. McLaughlin, firstly, poor clearance out that didn't get the ball far enough, and then it was Jacob who sliced the ball into the path of the Bristol striker.
He didn't even slice the ball; he just fresh air kicked it.
Yeah. They
That Armstrong bullied us, isn't he? Like, he proper
yeah,
bullied
he's
us.
terrifying.
Like, I mean, physically, like, when the ball was into feet, was just able to just turn, run at us, and then in behind as well. Problem, like, causing massive problems, particularly to McLaughlin. So, yeah, remember Jacob.
And I think the two things you'll say is that we're trying to sign Hughes, and even if he's not as good as left back as he is a sort of wing back or left winger, Giles probably will be playing left back. It probably won't be Jacob. The only reason he's playing left wing, I'd like to think, because he isn't really a winger, is because we don't have any wingers either. But we really need Hughes in, and we need a winger in, so we can play Giles at left back ahead of Jacob and someone instead of McLaughlin, because
I'm not
that's
sold
just
on
not
Giles.
reliable.
I'm not sold on Giles either. Like, in terms of obviously going forward is decent, but defensively, I'm not. I think he's one of them again. Like, he's more suited to playing a wing back system where less reliance on defending, an extra centre back to bail them out and behind. Like, but we'll have to see anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if we had Grant McCann or someone who doesn't have a real, well, I mean, I guess he was 4-3-3 for a long time, but wasn't blessed with any tactical nous, and he played three at the back. We could play McLaughlin there and then Giles at left wing back, and that'd be fine. But we have Volta who
did three back for his entire time here, didn't he?
Who?
Shotter did, because he phased Deshaun Bernard out because he knew Alfie Jones was going to be here longer term, and then we had a back three of Jones, Greaves, and Figueiredo in the middle, which, when you think back, was
bad.
Quite something, that.
Yeah, it was really painful to watch. But the only thing is, that probably won't be the two players, or even that whole left side with Giles. It probably won't be the left side we're going to try and have this season. But we were lucky to get away with a few.
As well, though, like, if you look in front of it, like Simmons and Slater aren't necessarily like proper defensive midfielders, and that's where, like, obviously someone like Zambrano comes in. Hopefully he signs. Like, obviously he was at the game. We need someone like that as well, protecting the defence. Because I felt like there was quite a lot of gaps, like, in between our midfield and defence. So that's obviously an area we need to invest in, and we have needed that for a while. Like, we've said that we've not really had that like hard sort of player in there that wins the ball back. Like, obviously last year we had Seri and Morton most games, and sometimes we did get bullied in there. But hopefully having someone like Zambrano who's good at winning the ball back, and Burns as well, who's he's like 6'5". Like, you're not going to lose many battles in there if you have them too. You know what I mean?
He could go there.
I'd like
Jones.
to see when everyone's in and fit or whatever. We don't know which central midfielders we might get from the Premier League loan market yet. Adrian said he wants 2 number 6s. Zambrano's one of them. I don't think it's necessarily a number 6 we're getting, but I think we'll end up getting a central midfield player, and that I think James McConnell will end up signing.
I'd take Morton back if possible.
I'd take Morton back, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I'd have Rodri.
Carvalho's gone to Brentford, hasn't he?
27.5 now. Crazy.
Watching him and Lewis Potter on the bench at Brentford will be quite something. I mean, Carvalho is a good player, but Brentford just seems so set on having the same lineup every single week for the last.
Visser, Tony, Sade.
Yeah, no one can get in ahead of Mbermo and Tony and these players like Jensen and people like that.
Anyway, what I would like to see is, like, discounting the fact we might end up getting McConnell or someone of that ilk. I'd like to, at the minute, have a go with Zambrano as the 6. Then Simon's more advanced with his sort of like power and passing range, and then I'd like to move Abdush.
Abdush next to Simmons.
I saw a comment Nshep said, hasn't he? Abdush better as a 10, and then we get a new right winger in.
Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah.
I haven't made my mind up on Malem yet. I don't think anyone should have fully made their mind up on him after just one game.
He's played 2 games. One in pre-season
against Reading, and then he obviously won the penalty. But I think
I bought this out if he's like a proper 10 or like an 8, or maybe he's Burr hybrid. But when you see more, I thought he played quite well, to be honest. Like, it looked decent. Malem.
Yeah, comparing Malem to Tufan, I think, is the interesting thing, because I think Malem's probably more of an overall player, but there's an exact moment where the ball gets cut back to our sort of number 10 player,
Wish it was
edge
too
of the box. First match of the season at home to Bristol City. Tufan whipped a beautiful shot. They hit the post against Bristol 2 years ago, and Maryland's was like a conversion. It was like Hull FC were in the stadium at that point.
They don't score them.
I'd say that, yeah, they don't even get the chance.
Yeah, high and wide. Yeah, so I think Tufan's probably more of an attacking midfielder than Maryland is. Yeah, I think isn't supposed to be a winger. I think he's always supposed to be a number 10. But he was just so good in Carvalho and Tufan. You know, I wasn't going to get them out of the team last season, so he had to play on the wing. That seemed to do okay, actually. But I think it's not since Smallwood we've actually had a midfielder who's number 6, who's more of a defensive player, because Seri's a deep-lying playmaker.
Yeah.
Slater is just a utility player. You can play him right back, centre mid, 6, 8, 10 winger, either side.
Yeah, that's more of a bench player also. I think, to be honest, like that's one player didn't really impress me. I think he doesn't really suit the system that well. Like, I don't really know where he fits in, to be honest. Especially when Zambrano comes in. I mean, obviously he's good off the bench later, but I don't see him starting as much.
Mm-hmm. Coxie says, anyone think it was weird Giles going off, but Jacob staying on yesterday? I mean, I thought so, because personally I thought Jacob was...
that's what I thought that was... I thought the change was made. It was going to move Giles to left back and then to bring Miller on, but... Longman plays over Slater, what?
Well...
How does that make sense?
Longman's not playing in midfield, to be fair.
That comment, do you think Longman plays over Slater when he's fit? They're not the same positions, so I don't think it's a comparison you can really make. And like addressing Cox's one, I think any player will be frustrated getting pulled off at 0-0 when we're 12 minutes into the half and it's not really settled down yet and we've not had much of the ball. So Giles was probably a bit frustrated that he didn't get the chance to, when we had a decent spell of play, to stay on and impact the game. I don't think you can read any more into it than that. It's a high adrenaline sport. It's a life for these guys and they want to be part of it. That's my view anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can say, oh, he's really annoyed that he got pulled off on the 58th minute, so he's going to sign for Middlesbrough. It's not like that at all, I don't think.
That one is still rattling on, isn't it? Even though Middlesbrough haven't actually bid any money for Giles. And I still think if you're spending $4 million on a young, exciting English talent like Giles, you're not selling him to a rival club in the same window. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Especially as Jacob and Fleming are so sort of inexperienced. Well, although Fleming's been around 6 years now. 7 years.
In
2017.
Debut, the Doncaster EFL Cup game.
7 years. Yeah, 7.
I think he was 17 years old when he made his debut. Brandon Fleming.
Yeah.
If he stays here any longer, he'll get a testimonial.
Yeah. Not that it would have done, but clearly being injured in France and scoring lots of goals in Brazil, which I can't think is a hugely technical league. Although I guess aren't they supposed to be all skillful in Brazil? I don't know.
They're all flat playing.
Yeah. But Oscar, his all-round game has not improved in a whole year, to put it lightly. Bless him. We treat him like a target man, but he's 6 foot. He's not actually.
He doesn't look tall. He doesn't look 6 foot. I think he looks smaller, but maybe that's his frame. I don't think he looks 6 foot as a player. If you know what I mean?
And he's slow. His touch is bad. And
but the thing is, though, Oscar's there to be fed. He got a proper chance, a proper opening, twice, maybe 3 times in the game.
Yeah.
He should probably have done better with it, fair, but it's early in the game, and O'Leary made a good save. The sort of debatable one was when he was trying to latch onto it and he was millimetres off getting it. if he makes his run like a small fraction of a second sooner, then he gets on that ball. But his second proper chance.
Was that one where he was offside? Like when we was literally like a 4v2. So frustrating.
And we were on the halfway line.
Yeah.
Was it in the first half?
I think, yeah, it was in the first half. It was so frustrating because we literally had such a good chance there, and Oscar was offside. I think so.
But the second chance Oscar got was the penalty, and he buried it.
It's good. That's his job. That's always been his job. He clearly isn't a technically gifted player, and his job is to score goals.
At championship level, you've seen before, like strikers that are not that technically gifted score goals. Would you say Carlton Sharp? Would you say that Carlton Morris is technically gifted? No, but he scored like 20 goals in the championship the other season. He's just someone there. He's always in the right place at the right time. We've seen before that he can produce screamers out on nowhere. Oscar as well, obviously against Coventry the other season. Like he didn't. I wouldn't say he had the best game yesterday all round, like you say, but he's
not got the players around him yet either, has he?
That's the thing. Once you get the players around that, I think he will be a lethal player. But we also need two strikers to push him as well, because he knows now that his place is nailed because we don't have anyone else. Start bringing in maybe two players that are on par or better than him, then you're going to see a different player, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Giles isn't really a winger, and Merlim's not really number 10, and Amur's not really a right winger.
Yeah, it's just square.
Right next to him.
Breaks round doors, whatever.
Yeah, and I think until probably the Millwall game, if not after that, into September, we probably aren't going to have the team that we will have for the rest of the season or would want. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about Oscar Zambrano. The interesting thing with that deal is that I think he has some offers from the Premier League in January, but
Man United, Bournemouth, Luton were all interested.
Yeah, so a few mid-table teams. Thank you. I'm here all week. But it's a bit of a risk because of the potential doping ban, but it's fine because Adrian thinks he's innocent. What a ridiculous statement to come out with. He's not a judge. He doesn't get to decide that. Oh, are you going to get... Okay, so there's a player in Ecuador, and, you know, all over the world, football players grow up dreaming of the Premier League, and we are a team in the Championship. We're right next to the Premier League. Oh, you want to sign me and pay me lots of money to come and play for you? No, actually, I am not innocent. Don't sign me. Of course, ridiculous.
Well,
let's forget about that and just talk about what a good player we could have on our hands. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're all experts in South American defensive midfielders. It's great.
Well, I'm not. I really have. I have no knowledge about him. I saw his goal he scored.
He came from the same youth system as Caicedo, and I looked at a few stats and stuff. Like Scott, that's all I know about him, really.
The problem with that is that so have hundreds of people that we've never heard of.
Yeah, but he's the second coming of Caicedo. You better believe it. Come on.
The thing is, people say he's going to be this big, brutal enforcer in the team, and he's what, 5'8"?
Yeah, look at N'Golo Kante. Look at him. What he put himself.
Just about to say he's everywhere. There's two of him, so you add them together, they're pretty tall, but he's pretty short. Just the one of them.
But no, I think Zambrano will be a good signing. It's just we need. I think
question marks hanging over him.
Well, South American press have said it's a loan with an obligation to buy if he hits certain targets in it. Yeah. I think that target is go the entire season without getting banned.
Yes,
that's what I think the obligation clause is.
How many lines he can snort in an hour if he gets a certain pay him more, something like that. I don't know.
Well, Coxie makes a good point about that Tan made yesterday about City's legal team and the lawyers and putting insurance plans in place to protect us in case he gets banned.
Send him to bunk with Chile in Peru.
We've got a great little South American cohort now, haven't we?
What's happened with that Uriel Shelley?
He doesn't exist, Tom.
Who doesn't exist more? Who exists less, Cynic or Chele?
Well, I have actually met Dokan Cynic, so I can say he does exist.
Does not exist. It was someone in a mask.
It was a style.
No, no. All he's done is get an assist at Rotherham away, and that's it.
And get injured.
Yeah, and get injured 5 times getting out of bed.
I don't even think he was there yesterday.
No, that's the thing. He keeps training, and they keep every summer. He's training in Germany. He's training in Turkey, away from the team. Surely the point you need to train with the team because he's been away
Well,
from
the
them
thing is,
so often.
Not this summer, but summer before, was he couldn't come back when the rest of the team came back because the Turkish Super League finished later. And he had an injury at the end of it that he was still rehabbing, so it made sense to have him with the best medical facilities in the country at St James's Park. Not St James's Park, St George's Park. But this year, in his free time, he spent his whole summer getting back fit. And exclusive here, I'm not going to tell you where I learnt this information, but Gökhan Sinik was actually, for the first couple of days of pre-season, doing separate stuff to the first team. He walked to the rest of the first team. He wasn't training with the group. He was doing his own little thing. So the media team must have just seen him walking around the gym, talking to players and like, right, that's our opportunity to show that he's here. And he, well, in doing his own separate training, he got injured.
Nice.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're doing separate running for the first couple of days and what have you, but when you're getting injured doing it and he's still not trained in full with the group yet.
Mm-hmm. It's not a contact thing, is it? Then it has to be muscular, and those can tend to be quite serious and keep happening. It's more of a thing rather than he's just like Connolly, unlucky with his toe.
Sort of cursed. I mean, Longman actually probably had a good pre-season. To be fair, I'll give him that.
Thank you.
Quite good, and I felt that right wing spots is for the first game, and then gets injured, which is unfortunate. But
the shoulder one though, he has to have surgery on it because if he just sort of gets it popped back in and he plays again, then lands awkwardly on it, then he's out for even longer. So because it's a weak point, so we've just got to accept that although he's in a good sort of patch of momentum and what have you, he's got to do it. He's got to have this injury rehab properly for himself, I suppose.
But overall, yesterday, a point gained because of the performance, and we're unbeaten in the championship all season under the new management. That's pretty good.
Now.
Yeah, I mean, at one point we were in the playoffs 10 minutes in.
46 points in this season.
Yeah. Oh dear. I hope not.
It'd have kept us up last year.
And it wasn't.
Would it not?
50 points. Birmingham got relegated on.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's always a little bit more in the championship than it is in the Premier League. Yeah. I think the main thing about the Hughes deal then, to talk about some players that could come in or not, and we mentioned Zambrano, I think City are happy to pay Wigan £7 million, which is a lot for a League One player.
It's mental, but
for a League One centre-back who's not called Ronnie Edwards, that's mental.
But it's the structure.
Didn't he, Southampton for Ronnie Edwards, I think. So,
yeah. It's the structure of the deal that they're haggling over at the moment. I think City are happy. He's got a £5 million release clause, but we want to pay him Wigan 7.
No, he hasn't got that release clause.
Oh, does he not?
It's made up. Someone's saying at the Adjun Q&A, is it not meeting the release clause? It's it doesn't have a release clause, so it's what Wigan want.
And I think in the modern day, it's all about how much you pay up front. It isn't just, oh, the players this much and they pay all of that in one go. We want to give Wigan a certain amount of money, but we don't want to pay them $7 million up front, which would make sense. But how much longer do we give it before we have to look at other deals? Because I think Tankers has said he's confident to get the deal over the line, but you don't want that one running to deadline day, do you?
He was telling that he was on the bench there, I think, yesterday. So I think in profile, like, it is the perfect Greaves replacement in terms of what is like 20 years old, centre back, English, ball playing centre back, and what he's captain of his club at 20 years old. That says a lot about him as a person as well. Like, he's obviously a leader as well at his young age, and I think it would be a good signing. Obviously, he's got a lot to live up to with a price tag, but he's certainly an upgrade on McLaughlin. So yeah, we need to get that deal done.
Yeah, I'd say so. The only other one I think we're in for at the moment. Well, we've talked.
Kamara from Norwich, I saw that, but
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is. But yeah, that would be a really good signing for me. I mean, obviously having watched him last year for Portsmouth, like sort of perfect for that right wing role, like what we need. Obviously powerful, drives forward. You know, he got a lot of goals and assists last season. It obviously would allow Abdush to go into the 10 as well. So yeah, if we can get that done, obviously the sticking point is obviously whether Norwich sells to us, but the fact obviously he wants to leave, I think so. Yeah,
I think Norwich, like West Brom, are under some EFL not embargo.
So surely they'd play him if. I mean, surely he'd stay if there wasn't like because he's easy good enough for the Championship. Like having watched him all season, so
yeah,
similar to obviously West Brom, like they're selling him to Coventry, who are arguably like in a better position than them right now. So it's a bit of a weird one to be fair.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Finances because of West Brom and Norwich. I think I don't think they got relegated at the same time, just a year behind each other. I think West Brom have been in the Championship a year longer, but their parachute payments are running out, and I think. I think they both need to sell players before they can sign any. So maybe him from Norwich wouldn't be too bad. Are there any strikers other than Jay Stansfield, who I've seen in the comments a lot? I know Conway is probably going to Middlesbrough as well.
Yeah, I think
that we think we could get, or that we'd like to see City go in for, because I can't really think of any at the moment. Stansfield's the obvious one, but he might go to.
Jay Stansfield's the obvious one. We're not a name that gets bandied about a lot is Robert Glatzel, but that's not going to happen, is it?
If that was going to happen, we would have signed him like a month ago because he's from Hamburg and Volta.
Well, maybe not because we take forever to get deals done.
Yeah. Deal agreed a month ago, and we're just waiting on an announcement on that one.
I did see us linked today with not a striker but attacking midfielder Alfie Devine
from
Spurs.
But you're linked.
Yeah, Plymouth want him back. We're pushing. Watford are pushing as well, but Watford getting him depends on I think Imran Loser leaving.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on at Watford at the moment. They've signed another 40 players that they won't ever play and sacked the manager 3 times already. Something like
that. Back to the main point of the question. Well, I think the young striker Adjun was on about talking to at the Q&A. I am fairly... Well, Baz said that's not Tommy Conway. My best guess would be that he's on about Jay Stansfield.
Reckon
he's one the club are interested in early. That Birmingham move clearly hasn't materialised, and he's still on the market.
But do you reckon Fulham looking to sell, or is it a loan again? Or a loan with obligation or option to buy?
It seems like they're open to bids. I think the idea was Birmingham somehow in League One want to buy him for 5 million now. Stoke want to buy him for like up to 8 million. I don't know where they're getting
Alfie and Stansfield as options in League One. I mean, obviously Alfie May probably is a League One player. Obviously he is like top scorer last season, but having Stansfield on top of that as well, ridiculous really. But obviously,
I've seen some elite Stoke versus Hull City stuff on Twitter today because we've been saying how Stoke's Stansfield pull or whatever, and there was a battle going on with Stoke just saying the best players they've ever had, and it's stupid. It starts off with an account saying that Hull City pulls like nothing. What are they on about? And then tweeting pictures of Philogene, Giles, Carvalho, Miller, etc. Then a Stoke account replying back with people like Jack Clark, Philogene, Kiana Hoover. Then we come back with Maguire, Robertson, etc. Then Shaqiri, Bojan, Nzonzi. And then it's just ended with JP on Twitter tweeted a picture of JJ Okocha.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't enjoy getting, Shaqiri destroying us every other week in the Premier League. It felt like
He
we
scored
always
a
lost us.
belter against within that last season we were in the Premier, didn't
Scored
he?
two, I think, in that game.
Yeah, literally in the same season. And then obviously Peter Crouch used to haunt us as well back in them times.
Yeah. Oh dear. I think Stansfield would be crazy to go to Birmingham, considering that the two young English strikers on loan from Premier League clubs to the Championship last season were him and Delap. Delap's gone on a permit to a Premier League club, and Stansfield, who scored more than Delap, would go to League One. Crazy.
If we do get him, it'd be unreal, to be fair. But we also need sort of like someone said in the comments, I think like target man striker as well. I think an ideal world you get one on loan, one permanent, or even both permanent, to be fair. But we need that sort of. Obviously, was going in for Kiefer Moore, who was obviously a sort of target man striker. Obviously, close to getting him, didn't. Obviously, Thomas Asante as well, who's probably like sort of the opposite, likes to run him behind. So it's clear the profile we're looking for, like in terms of strikers, like one target man and one that can sort of like that's pacing behind, and that's sort of the obviously sort of perfect sort of trio with like Oscar as well with what he brings. So
I like that Oscar isn't actually a striker who gets in behind or a target man. So you do sometimes wonder what he's good at.
He's a poacher.
He is, and that's more important. So I guess you get a big lump who can't score, and a little guy who can finish but can't hold on to the ball.
I'd rather have recalled Oscar last season though than got Billy Sharp.
Yeah,
intensely. I think the issue there was that Oscar thinks that he doesn't want to be on the bench, whereas for the club it would have been better to start Delap and every single hour, take Delap off and have Oscar on the last half an hour. And we would have finished in the playoffs if we had those two, but it's probably more difficult to justify, maybe with the bigger wages Oscar's on, to have him on the bench as well.
Yeah.
So that was a difficult thing there. So 2 games coming up. Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth, who've just played. Sheffield Wednesday beat Plymouth 4-0. Why Plymouth have gone for Wayne Rooney.
Rooney said before the game that they've got a game plan, so hopefully it's the same game plan next week, because I wish I was going to Plymouth now because I've got some hope we might win.
Maybe.
Did you see they spelled Adam Forshaw's name wrong on his kit as well?
Oh, I didn't.
No, I didn't see that, but
instead of FORSHAU, they put FORESHAU. AW, sorry.
AU, yeah. Well, that would definitely be wrong, and I wouldn't have forgiven them for that one. I think this is going to be another League Cup game, and we haven't won a League Cup game since 2020, so it's 4 years now. We probably don't need a cup run. I think we want one because we haven't had one for so long, but with the players we have, we're almost going to struggle to put an 11 together. So how do we see that one going on against Wednesday?
Not bothered.
Same. Yeah. I think we don't have the squad depth really to put. We're never in a position really because we always do our business like late in the window. So always in these games and whatever, feeling like our strongest team because we want to give players a rest and try out some like younger players. So I think I don't see us winning, but it'll be good to sort of see hopefully Jarvis and players like that get a proper run out. Like probably deserve it. Well, obviously Jarvis deserves it after his performance on Saturday. So I don't really have much hope, but it would be nice to get through the first round for the first time since I don't know, God knows when. Probably like 2020 or something.
It was League One season. We were talking before we went live. Work with Nathaniel. It was beating Sunderland on penalties and then beating Leeds on penalties before getting absolutely trashed by West Ham.
Yeah.
Is that 5-1?
Yeah.
I think 2021 did we lose to like Wigan on penalties.
It was Wigan and Bradford.
Yeah. Bradford, yeah, that's it.
So lower division teams the last 3 seasons. Pretty miserable. Plymouth away. Plymouth are better at home than they are away, but looking at their squad, I think they've lost a few players. I
Looking
wouldn't
at
be
their
surprised if they
manager,
lost Whittaker. And I don't think you can blame Birmingham going down on their first manager because they did pretty well. And then I don't think you can blame it on Tony Mowbray either because he was ill. So really, you have to put the blame on Rooney in the middle of the season where their
I thought you
form
were
was
going to
just
say
dreadful.
Gary Rowett then, because he was the one who ultimately took him down.
Was he?
Yeah.
Did they sack? Did
They
they
didn't
get rid of Mowbray?
I didn't sack him. It was just it was like a temporary sort of thing. Wow.
I did not know that.
Mowbray was ill, wasn't he? So.
I thought it was just his
They didn't want to
assistant
stick with
manager.
Steve Spooner the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Nathaniel, you're right. The blame lies at Rooney's door.
It's not a must-win, but
if we don't win it,
it'd be disappointing.
It's disappointing when you consider Rooney's record, and my view is whoever looked at his CV and thought
He's
that manager we want, he's the man who could take us to the Premier League.
No,
just
yeah.
Then it's
quite. I really like Rooney as a guy. Like I like him. I rate him. But
I don't.
I don't mind him. Obviously I loved him as a player, but I mean, as a manager, it's not up to the standard. I mean, I thought he did a decent job at Derby under the circumstances, what it's worth. But then since then, it's been a bit of a shambles, or more than a shambles, to be fair.
Yeah. I rewatched a lot of those old sort of Premier League review sort of hour-long documentaries of sort of the 2000s and early 2010s, and Rooney, quite young, seemed very toxic and petulant and sort of typical sort of stupid footballer at the time. Whereas I gained a lot of respect to him for what he did at Derby under a tough circumstance. And then he went to America. I guess that's fine. But just how bad he was at Birmingham and the sort of whole thing of him being almost complicit in getting rid of a manager who'd done very well and Tom Brady bring him in because he'd been in America and the American owners wanting Rooney.
I mean, this is obviously it's got off to an awful start. I mean, obviously it was a 4-0 first game Sheffield Wednesday, but obviously make or break in his managerial career. Like obviously, if this is another shambles and he gets sacked after 10 games with him rooted to the bottom, then I don't think any other team's going to take a gamble on him.
It's over, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's done. Completely finished. I think Whittaker will probably leave Plymouth still, and I do see Plymouth struggling this season.
Go down, I think.
Yeah, a draw wouldn't be too bad. Joe,
we've got to be beating them though.
Yeah, Hughes and Zambrano in, especially Miller starts.
Just back to Rooney quickly. I saw Angry Ginge. He was asked, "Who do you think is going to go up from the Championship?"
Isn't that you?
Funny. He says, "Well, obviously, I'm rooting a bit for Plymouth because of the gaffer." And I thought, he's played FIFA with Rooney, and he can't see him for what he really is, a terrible, terrible manager. But Sheffield Wednesday, I think, to be honest, I don't think either team will particularly care. I can imagine Malik Wilkes will, for once, be in a Sheffield Wednesday squad.
Is it really? He's on a verge of leaving, isn't he?
Is he?
Well, he's been linked. Who is he being linked to? I think he's being linked to like Rotherham or someone. Oh, he might be close.
Rotherham are one of the Yorkshire clubs he's not played for yet.
Yeah, he's ticking them all off.
I think he'll be on his way out. But,
he's got Rotherham, Middlesbrough, and Sheffield United to tick off still, I think.
To be fair, there are a lot of Yorkshire clubs, so he has played for Grimsby.
In terms of league clubs, anyway.
Yeah, Huddersfield.
Oh, he's still got Huddersfield, yeah.
Yeah,
Bradford.
But he's young. He's young yet, isn't he? So he'll get to.
He'll get to him. I half expected him to join Donny in the summer, to be honest. But
yeah,
I think neither team will particularly care, and because of that, I think the game will reflect it. I think it will go to penalties, and I think we will
Win.
Yeah, balls to it, win.
Will Jarvis scores the winner.
We're going to win on penalties. Ty Stellers-Fleming pops it top corner. And Will Jarvis smashes it straight through the keeper. Yeah, cool. And then Plymouth, you know what? We're going to do it. 1-0 smash and grab.
Yeah, nice. I think it could be a bit of a smash and grab as well. I don't really see us playing too well. I'll just be boring. I'll go 1-1 in both of the games. That's my predictions. And I would have predicted 1-1 against Bristol City. Sheffield Wednesday went on penalties.
Well, I'm going to go Sheffield Wednesday beat us 2-1. And then I think we'll beat Plymouth 2-0. I just think you've got to have confidence going into the game, surely. Like, we didn't play too bad against Bristol City. I mean, going forward in attack will look quite dangerous. Plymouth were terrible. Like, probably points towards Plymouth pulling out a masterclass, but yeah, let's have confidence. We'll win 2-0.
Not seen many predictions of the Plymouth match in the comments, but maybe some of the people watching will understand how the game will go after we look at the combined lineup. It's back for another year. You better believe it. Joe's left.
She left
the podcast, yeah. Now, of course, this is a podcast, so let me read it for the lovely audio.
This is come on. There's two.
For everyone watching live, I have the power to mute Nathaniel here.
No, and I have the power to kick you off, although not keep you off, unfortunately. Let me read it out for the lovely audio listeners, yeah? Panda in goal, considering Sheffield Wednesday just put four past the... Well, the left-sided... let me read it out first. Panda, Mumba, McLaughlin, Jones and Coyle, Miller, Simons, Merlam, Morgan Whittaker for Plymouth, Amur and Oscar Estepinian. Considering that the Plymouth team just got beat 4-0 by Sheffield Wednesday and the left-sided centre-back did just get sent off in that game, McLaughlin sort of has to play. Although I'm not really happy about it.
I don't hate this one.
What do you mean, you know what? You say that every single time. You always say, I know these are always rubbish, but this one's pretty good. And you say that every time.
I don't say that every time.
Yes, you do.
Not the time. Was it against Ipswich last year? You put all Hull City players.
I don't remember.
Neither do I.
Yeah. Anyone actually think Wayne Rooney can out-tactic Tim Volter? No, but I reckon Plymouth probably have more players than we do. But I guess you only get to play 11 each, so maybe that won't matter. I mean, Coxey, which players will you reckon will leave on a loan from City? I hope none at the moment.
I think
what will be interesting to see is we're going a bit off topic is like how we sort of like approach when we're playing a team like Leeds, where especially where we're expecting to probably them dominate a lot of the ball. Like, will we come out all guns blazing, pressing, trying to win the ball back high and attacking? Or do you reckon also like sort of not part of the bus, but sort of play a bit more defensive?
Well, by the time Leeds comes around, the transfer window will be done. So we should, depending on what time some deals get done, like they might not be registered in time.
It's literally 19 days.
But I think Volter will just go out all guns blazing because I think that's what he's about.
Yeah. Probably. I'm not sure it's a good idea, but yeah.
To answer,
obviously, points make it a good go, didn't they, yesterday? So,
to answer Quoxy's question, which players do we reckon will leave on loan? I think Andy Smith will go because we've got Finn Burns who's a centre back.
Yeah.
We've got Charlie Hughes, possibly, probably coming in.
It's a right-sided Smith, and we've got Jones and Burns, right?
Yeah. And then if McLaughlin goes, well, we've got McLaughlin anyway, but if he goes, then Stan Ashby's been training with the first team all summer. It won't surprise me if Matty Jacob ends up going out on loan, to be honest. Either him or Fleming, I think, will end up going out on loan. Or if it's Fleming, he might be more likely to leave permanently. Wouldn't shock me if Harry Vaughan went out either, much to my dismay.
He's not going to be playing, is he?
Other than that, who else might go? I'd imagine Sinek will get loaned back to the Turkish league in January.
Yeah.
Yes, when he's fit in 3 months.
Motatala is fully fit by the end of the window. I can see him going out on loan. And then because Cartwright's expected out for a long time, he'll have to just stick about because by the time this transfer window's over, he's still going to be, well, with his arm in a sling or in a pot or something. So no club will touch a goalkeeper with one arm. And I think by the time he's back, it will be he'll slot back in as number 3. But until that point, it'll be Owen Fozzie as number 3. Maybe he'll get out in January, but you never know.
Maybe Hall out on loan with maybe Sellers Fleming and Jarvis above him.
Yeah, maybe, and they've got good enough wing cover in the 21s. Anyway, because they can dip into the 18s if they want and take Ramel Carter for a game.
Have you watched him live, that Carter?
I have watched Ramel Carter live, and
like
him and Zach Jagielka, it was the wrong sort of game for them because they had one opening, both of them. Jagielka dispossessed a Rotherham defender high up the pitch. They broke on 2-on-1 against the keeper, and the keeper came out to Jagielka. He just squared it, and Ramel Carter put it in. Other than that, neither of them were really in the game, apart from when Jagielka started scrapping, and that resulted in our under-18s manager almost scrapping the Rotherham under-18s manager, which is an incredibly long story. The Rotherham under-18s manager as well tried giving a bit to David Myler, the cheek. Giving a bit to David Myler.
Is he no under-18s coach, Myler, isn't he?
Myler's under-18s assistant manager, yeah. Interestingly, Harry Fisk is under-18s goalie coach as well.
What he was he was in the team like a couple of years ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He's with them, wearing all the green kit. He was at an academy staff meeting at the stadium a few days ago.
He's like 21 or something.
Yeah, he's 22, 23, Fisky. So it's a new route for him to go down because the Ferrabit, going to Shelburne didn't go his way. He played one game there and then got released. He ended up training back with City's academy for most of last year. Was at Ferriby for a bit.
Yeah.
And it just didn't go his way. So
he's 21, so
he's looking for. He's still looking to play football and stuff, but by the looks of things, obviously I've not spoken to him fully, but by the looks of things, he's permanently with the 18s as a goalie coach, which is impressive. He's played that level. Anyway, back to the original point. Yeah, the game was just too physical for both Jagielka and Ramel Carter. They just sort of got bullied every time they got near the ball. Rotherham were older, because it was a team mostly of first-year scholars, apart from Harry Revel at centre-back, Archie Howard in goal, Stan Hewitt on the left wing, and Bobby Moore at centre-back, who's 15 years old.
Really? What,
City?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an older team, it was a more physical team, it was a bigger team, and it was the wrong sort of game for Jagielka and Carter to show what they've really got.
Yeah.
But they had one little opening and they combined for a goal. So during the international break, the 18s are at home, so I might pop down again and see if it's a bit more of a technical game for them. See what they're both about.
Cool. Well, thanks as always, Joe, for the sort of underage there. Or academy. No, yes, yeah. Academy perspective. Sorry. No, I thought that when I was saying that. Any other fun anecdotes to get me off this embarrassing moment?
The under-18s fight I watched was incredible. And it was so Jagielka and a Rotherham player went in for a tackle, and I was stood watching this with George Wilson, under 21s goalkeeper, and Joe Batty, under 18s vice captain, and he's coming back from an injury at the minute. And we just sort of watched a load of players get involved. And Rotherham's manager, what actually happened, based on what Chad Gribble, the under 18s manager, was saying, was to break the fight up. The Rotherham player grabbed Zach Jagielka to try and pull him out the way. Chad Gribble saw that. He was knelt down just on the touchline thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm not getting involved. All of a sudden saw it, bolted over to the other dugout and nearly started scrapping the opposition manager and was getting right involved, shouting, no, if you're going to break this fight up, you grab your own players, you don't grab our lads, that's not on. And then sort of David Myler and Harry Fish stand up, and Harry Fish, like, he's a nice bloke, but when you see him, he's an imposing, like, strong.
I might have to go to one of under 18 games now.
But like they both just sort of saunter over to see what's going on, and then so once it's all sort of fizzled out or whatever, Chad's still fuming. So Myler's sent him back, and Myler's trying to sort it out with the other manager. And this other manager, a real little short bloke, he's getting right in Myler's face, but he's like 4 foot tall, so it's not really working.
Is it? Well, he's not seen Myler v Pardew, has he?
No, he's not seen Myler v Pardew at all.
I was watching that just the other day. It came up on my timeline. I thought, nostalgia for this. Another manager headbutting one of our players. I'll watch this again. So I'm glad that's still living on in spirit somehow.
In the end, it all just sort of fizzled out, and Joe Batty says to us, there's going to be some tackles going in now. And the only one that happened, because Joe was sort of saying, this is the sort of game now where you take an extra touch just so you accidentally, in air quotes, clatter one of their players. And there was one tackle like that. Bobby Moore just went, honestly, if it was a proper game, I think he's at risk of being sent off there. He was out of control, off the ground, just absolutely throttled one of the Rotherham players. It was fantastic to watch.
Marvellous.
Go and watch the 18s if you get a chance, guys.
Yeah, should do.
Bishop Burton, you go in the big entrance, not the little one that the sat-nav takes you in first.
Well, I've pretty enjoyed talking about the first match of the season. I mean, still not 100% sure how the year's going to go, of course, but should be some more positive things happening pretty soon. Maybe a cup run and maybe a win at Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, as Sky Sports, I'm sure, will call them. And hopefully some more signings. So, Joe, Tom, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and everyone who's commented in and liked. And we've just passed 500 live followers, so or listeners. So, thank you very much for your support as always. And we'll be back very soon after 2 more Hull City matches.